Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. As always, want to welcome you to your favorite show, which is Men, the one show that lights up your Wednesday night like never before. Now, we're here at the Naguru Skies Hotel talking about succession. We had talked about it a little bit. We had a lady on the show, and she had a lot to say on behalf of the ladies. So today we decided to get a man who believes in succession. Nuruddin, you're not a stranger to the show. Welcome.
Of course not.
Good to have you here. Now, we
Thank you.
always say this is your show. It is an interactive show. So right now, get on your phone and let's get the conversation going via our social media channels. Go to our Facebook page, like it, let's talk. And also, we can have a chat on Twitter. Nuruddin, good to have you here, sir.
The pleasure is all mine.
You're looking like a boss.
It's good to be back.
It's good to have you here.
A boss from where?
Ogaland.
Maybe Ogaland. Yes, yes.
Now, before we went on air, we had a chat about the issue of succession.
Yes.
And you mentioned, especially in a lot of African cultures, it is even a taboo to talk about succession because we act as if we are planning for the, it's the inevitable, but we say for bad things.
Yeah.
We can't even talk about death like that. Should we wait to plan for succession only with the light of death, or should we be planning to move on while we are still alive?
Peter, thank you. But it depends on what aspect of succession are we talking about?
Yeah.
Is it succession to do with the hereafter? The man, the woman, the children, the property?
Yeah.
They're all aspects of succession that you need to look at. Yeah. If it is to do with the woman, what succession are we talking about? If it is to do with the kids, it's something that we can talk about.
Yeah.
If it is to do with property, it's something that we can talk about. So I think we need to be able to differentiate, draw lines. When we're talking about succession in family, what are we talking about?
Yeah.
Because to in everyday English language, succession means that you have deliberately planned that there is going to be a hereafter after somebody.
Yeah.
And that may not augur well in a family setup, especially for us in Africa.
Yes. Yes. Chris, you're a very strong advocate for planning. But when is a good time? And especially property is a very touchy thing. Okay, do you leave it for the children? Do you leave it for the wife? If you leave it some in the names of your children, somebody might take it that you don't trust your wife. So it's usually a very delicate subject. Then of course there's also those add-ons where you've got like your brothers who say, but we helped you, okay? So they also want to have a say. And again, one of the challenges we have is a lot of people wait until they drop dead, or is when the will comes out. So even in hindsight, nobody knows what's going to happen until somebody's dead and gone. And I think that's a sign of cowardice, because you say you don't want to be there when people start pulling out knives and everything. So you basically leave that mess for them to sort out.
No, I really think that we need to plan for succession in order to control wanton lust. Because what happens is that something happens when there is stuff to be grabbed. Yeah. Especially free stuff. You know, you could find, if you're driving along one of these highways, you find very sensible people, you know, we stop over, you want to get a drink, they'll show you where the cold drinks are, they'll help you, you know, they'll sell you something on the roadside and all that. Very, very polite, nice people. But something gets into these people when there is a car accident that's nearly fatal, and there's people in the car who are really hanging on for dear life, and the people who are supposed to come rescue them and rush them to hospital are doing body searches, looking for the wallets, looking for money and mobile phones fast before they save a life. There's something in there about a very debased level of how the human behaves at the crudest point, that requires us to sort of inoculate by planning the succession, because for some reason some people really flip. Your very sensible, very understanding uncle flips when your dad passes. You're like, what happened to this guy?
Yeah.
And they really want that stuff, and you know, they don't care. They don't care if you sink or swim, you know. Yeah. So I think that one of the reasons why we must have succession planning is so that we sort of control wanton lust. That's number one. Number two is that I think that we owe it to ourselves and to our loved ones to just leave some order. I have seen families where no will has been left, no succession has been planned, it's unclear who the leaders are, and there is so much friction, so much unhealthy competition, to a point that it actually drives a wedge between siblings or a wedge between loved ones, or if it's in the office space, a wedge between colleagues who are initially working well, runs down productivity in the workspace because succession hasn't been planned. Yeah. In every country where the leadership has not been clear on what's going to happen after they are gone, and I don't think Uganda is any different. And I'm not being political, I'm just saying. It becomes, you know, so you have all this jostling for that spot, and everyone is lining up to be next. Well, this is the show where we talk about things people want to talk about, right? And I'm just saying that whether you're looking at it politically, or in a business setting, or in a family setting, the chaos you leave without planning succession well is horrific.
Okay, I'll tell you what. When we look, especially, you've talked about families that where there's no will that's left. And Banji, I'd like you to weigh in over here. There used a lot of African societies, including where I come from, there was a plan. There was an uncle who actually was close to your dad, so who knew basically his thoughts and where it was going, and then they would sit as a clan and then appoint what do you call it, an heir, and say he or she is the one who's going to take charge, and everybody would rally behind that person and say yes, they are the ones who are going to take charge. So whether there was a will or not, it was inconsequential.
Yeah. Societies, tribal societies and communities have unwritten constitutions.
Yes, like the Brits. They don't have a written constitution.
Like where I come from, if
from Britain.
God forbid, if my dad passes on, the firstborn, the first male born is the heir. The rest of the family, you know, you have to rally behind that one. So even when your dad is still alive, you are struggling to make sure that you are in the good books. But that was when, you know, people lived in what I call tribal communities. Now people have dispersed, people have moved. But also, sometimes, by the way, you realize that sometimes, the number of times, those decisions were disputed, sometimes. And I think it plays in one key aspect about especially the Ugandan society. We pretend that we shall not die, especially when it comes to family succession. We pretend that we shall not die. The fact of life is...
Banji, especially when it comes to all succession.
Yes, all succession.
The
fact of life is, as human beings, we are going to die. Okay? So if you know that you are going to die, you're a man out there, you know that you are going to die, whether you are running a business, you are running a country, you are running a family, once you don't plan for succession, then you are living chaos. So let me look at the example of a family. you go home and try to talk to your dad and say, Dad, well, what will happen once you're gone?
When you die.
The man will throw spears, arrows at you because you are just suggesting that he should die, actually. So many of us men out there, when we talk about succession, we are really thinking that the people are against us, that they don't want good for us. But I think at the family level also, even if it is a family, it would really be good for you to put your records in order. You set, you know, what's wrong with you calling your children and you say, well, when I pass on, you will take the other vehicle, you will take the other vehicle, you take the other vehicle. Okay. But also, before you move on, there's something I want to talk about, especially family succession. And I think this brings in what our president has been saying. The belief that family succession means splitting and subdividing family wealth, I think is also becoming a problem. Because then when we subdivide something which was already growing big, again we pull it down.
Fragmentation.
Yes, fragmentation. I think succession, especially at family level, should be that now there was one pillar, the pillar has left. The rest of us come and fill in, and we continue the journey.
Okay, you know, and I'd like to hear from the younger generation. I think the risk of succession planning is that sense of entitlement. And we see it a lot with the younger guys. I mean, my dad has worked hard. People sit and wait for their parents to die. You know, after all, who's he leaving it for? Why should I work when...
There are actually people who induce.
They assist their fathers.
They assist. Exactly.
Yes.
And I think that's why a lot of people don't plan. Because so if I know already I'm in the system and I'm next in line, I can speed up the process, you know, so I can take over. Do you think then it's right for your parents to not tell you?
But personally, I'm not going to speak for the millennials, I'm going to speak for myself. Personally, if you told me, if I imagine that you have a lot of wealth and you told me this is yours, what are the chances that I'll actually? What the chances, if you look at the probability scale, what are the chances that I'll pull up my socks? What are the chances that you're actually energizing me? You're asking, what you're doing, right? You're just stealing my dream. Planning, it should be deliberate to you, but not deliberate towards me. Because when you plan, you see these days, the reason why I think many people don't actually plan, I don't think because, you know, honestly, I thought when people are educated, it would actually speed up. People would actually know exactly what to do, but it seems that education is a bit of a loophole in this whole succession. People don't seem to understand what exactly it entails. In that, you know, we're living, when you're educated, you want, first of all, there's a sense that, you know, you're in school. If you're in school and you want to get 100%, you also want to get 100%. You also want to get 100%. So how about when you're in a family with your wife you can't trust, another wife you can't trust, children who you can't trust, and then you want to plan. As you want to plan for them. You have property that you want to assign to them. So you find that, yes, you're planning, but you may be planning elsewhere. You know, so you may be... So the whole... Wait. So, but briefly. So there's that. There's that contest. You know, you can't really... There was always a saying that you can't really trust your fellow man. In high school, when I said, you can't really trust your fellow man because next thing you want to go out on a date with your woman, your fellow man is already in there. So that's one. And two, the reason why it's kind of delaying, or the succession thing is not really working out, is because you know, when you plan for something and you're so deliberate that you're actually assigning, you're dispatching bits and bits of control. And every man, when you're not yet dead, you still want to be in control. Now imagine you pick up one boy and give the man, hey, you're going to be the head. So how much control? So that in a sense, in a way, tends to have men withdraw. They plan, but in a more withdrawn manner. Then suddenly, man's life is cut short.
Okay, well, Chris, we're going to get to you as soon as we get back from the break. We do need to go into the break, but however, guys, food for thought. In a way, I kind of agree with him, especially about the plan, because we've seen it. A lot of the millennials have a sense of entitlement. So if you're planning, then why should I work? Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after the break. Welcome back from the break. In case you've just joined us, we're here at the Naguru Skies Hotel talking about succession. We talked about it before. A lot of you had a lot of unfinished business, and now we are back with it. Now, I'll get you, Chris. Nuruddin, you've taken a big swing.
Yes.
Okay. You're an HR professional.
Yes.
Okay. Do you have people, especially those who have come from well-to-do backgrounds? From my experience, they can actually be a problem to deal with, because at the back of their minds, they know, I mean, I'm just here to pass time with this job. Isn't that part of the problem that some of the problems that succession planning brings?
It's not only at workplace. It's actually bigger than workplace.
Yeah.
Like he talked about, if you show me what I can inherit, you've practically told me stop working. Now, when you compare our situation with our friends in Europe, with our friends in America, it's different. Whereas the parent will actually nurture, right from the time you take your first step, you become part and parcel of the business. You become part and parcel of the family. So by the time you are 18, you have an idea what's going on. Whereas, as in Africa, it's a different story. If you are making bread and butter from chapati business, your kids will have nothing to do with that chapati business. They will actually look down upon it. Although that chapati business will actually finance everything else in the family. Are we together? Compare that with our Indian friends. When the Indian friend is managing a chapati stall, everyone in the family will have a stake in that chapati stall. So by the time the Indian actually, it's time for the Indian to get away, there's already someone who has taken interest in that business. And that is where you are able to build one business, grow. Whereas for us in Africa, just a minute, Chris, for us in Africa, you would find very successful businessmen. But the success stops with
them.
With them. The moment they die, everything else crumbles. Because why? One, they have not taken interest in nurturing, in coaching, in mentoring the family members into the business. Nobody knows where the man is getting his money from. Nobody knows he's the only signatory. He's the only one who talks to the bank, the bankers. So when he dies, the wife comes and he says, "Hey, you mean this man had a loan? You mean you were a debtor?" You understand? Everything now begins to come round. But if the family was walked through the entire process, if succession was handled right from the time when everyone else comes into the business, everyone else takes their responsibility and nothing comes as a surprise. By the time the father actually dies, you know, oh, my father has a loan with Stanbic, my father has a loan with Tropical, my father has a loan with X. So when my father even dies, I will have plans on how to continue servicing these loans, and then business will continue as usual.
So you see, I agree with you on what you've just said, and disagree with you and Albert and Peter on the thing about when we say so and so is going to take charge of something X, it's snatching their dreams or that sort of thing, especially because of exactly what Nuruddin has just said last. I think that we have a duty that as we raise the next generation, we are showing them a picture that's bigger than what we can be able to deliver. Because most of the times, when you find families where succession has been handled well, the older generation is saying, this is how far we have been able to go. I want you to take the family further. Your job is to take the next generation much further than where we were able to go. Your job is for you to use my ceiling as your floor.
But then,
right?
Chris, it doesn't tie into what he's saying about the dream.
Listen to what I'm saying. These men. What are you talking about? So then the thing is that by the time it's not even by the time, if you do it that way, everybody knows who is being groomed for what, because it's in the process, right? If there is a particular set of children who are being taught, you know, like I've mentioned this before, there's a family I once worked for. It was a family business. The founder basically groomed his son to be the next CEO. He took him on all the trips, introduced him to all the suppliers in all the different countries, took him on whenever he was seeing his high-value business guys, contacts, he went with him, introduced him as his son, and said, we're running the business together. So sometimes the son started even handling some of those high-value businesses.
Relationships.
So when he passed on, there was no hiccup. Everybody in the family knew this guy is the CEO. The one who was being groomed for accounts knew what their role was. So there was no hiccup in the family when he passed on. And I think it's possible to do that, not just, and I know that I am known to, like he has, Nordin has, referred to the Indian community, which does this so well. But I think that there are also some Ugandans that are doing this well.
Very well, yeah.
If you take the example of the late James Mulwana, I think he planned
a very good example.
Very well.
Yeah.
True.
Ugandan, you know, it was clear by the time he passed on who is in the driving seat for what. And it wasn't necessarily his boy child. It was his daughter who basically was driving things. But why was it very clear and why was there no confusion? It's because you leave your will. You don't, it's not a secret what your desire is. You leave it out. You let the person who you want to be taking charge.
Peter, maybe before you come in.
And so what that does is you don't get to a point where when they tell you in charge, you have a lack mentality.
Yes.
Like you have a brokenness of ideas. It's actually a big responsibility.
No, but Chris, there's a difference. He is not saying that with succession, we're going to give you a role, a responsibility in the family to grow the business. He's talking about you being told that regardless of your efforts, when I die, this is yours.
No, of course, it's
you understand?
It's a fool
that is terrible.
It's a fool who says, regardless of your effort, because.
But you just talked about somebody appointing.
You said exactly.
Grooming. I said grooming. You raise the child.
Yeah. So you've decided.
You know.
Yes. You raise.
You know
them
this corner
into
here.
the role.
There's something, Chris. Just a minute. There's something I want to bring in. Sometimes succession planning. You look at some successful business people, they open businesses depending on the different talents of their children. If Albert here is a musician, so I open a music label because he's a musician.
Mudongo.
And I support him in that direction. For you in PR, I open a PR company and I support you in that direction. And Chris is probably into farming. I open up farms and he runs them. So, and because this one is into human resource management, he manages the human resources in all your companies. You understand? So succession planning means that also as you develop your enterprises, okay, you are developing your enterprises matching the skill set of your children, especially if it is at family level.
But that's very dangerous because it means you're not going to do anything until your children are of age.
No!
Exactly.
Yes.
Because you're trying to tap onto their talent.
Yes.
What
No,
happens?
it's
what
not
happens-
dangerous
first
because-
what
because-
happens,
just a
if I'm a
minute.
very good musician.
That is actually not
what
succession
happen-
planning.
What happen, yeah, that is
It's
You
children
actually
planning.
you are developing them into their own
What
fields.
happens if that talent that you saw one day disappears?
You see.
And that's what happened. That's what happened. It's happening now to the many millennials because you find them and say, this guy is good at math. You should encourage him to go to university.
tomorrow he doesn't
Reaches
want
university,
mathematics,
I want to go and make cakes. I want to make, but you
There's nothing wrong with making cakes.
No. That is, you build your empire.
It's not the shift
you
that he's
build
talking
your
about.
empire
Yes.
on let's say physics and what and developing technology and everything. Suddenly, the person you are considering as an heir says, no. We should make cakes. Now what? Now your entire and you're about to die. You have cancer, and now this person is giving you a very, very good news. That's good news.
Because you see, Albert, you might shut down my idea. For you, I think that I am beginning to plan when you are 2 years. No, I am not following you from 2 years until you reach 29. No. I have my main business which I'm doing. There are some businesses which are flexible, okay? That, for instance, if I'm into PR and you're a musician, I can find a way of promoting, okay? It doesn't mean that if I am preparing cakes and you're a musician, then I have to move from my cake business into what? But I can bring you into my cake business and show you that this cake business can be able to fund your first what? Your first public.
Your performance.
But is
your
that
first
still
public-
succession planning? It's
first
not.
public gig.
It's
so
not.
in so doing, I am interesting you in this business because my purpose as your father or as your elder is to interest you in the business, okay? So that when I am not around, you will run it. But also we must remember that not all people will be interested.
I'll tell you
in
one
your
thing,
business.
just
Gentlemen, we
before-
need to define what succession
Yes, I'm
is.
I'm getting there.
And then
Just
we
one
put
second.
planning
Yes.
to it.
Because
Exactly.
yes, and I'll tell you why. There's a very strong connection between what Banji and Chris are actually saying. Succession comes from the word succeed.
Yes.
Now, one of the challenges that we have is Albert. Usually, I don't support him, but this time round, I'm on his side. He
Yes.
talked about something called dreams. Okay. Now, one of the challenges we have generally as Africans is, you mentioned it, that you have a dream, okay? You've taken it so far, then you tell your kids, no, it's up to you guys to take it further. Then that is your dream.
your dream.
Gentlemen,
They are,
I can, Peter,
so just hold on, just hold on,
I
just one
can
second.
tell you, and I know you're the host for that show, but now listen to me. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. You see, what happens is that every generation sees something,
Yes.
sees opportunity based on the circumstances that surround them. The next generation may see the same thing or see different based on the circumstances surrounding them, right? If you check, say, the story of the Madvanis, the businesses that are probably the cash cows of the Madvani family now is not the one of the guy who came in with 30 rupees so many years ago,
Yes.
all right? But it's the whole thing of the next generation has been trained with a certain broad view. What's the broad view? The broad view is you need to be creating wealth and influence for your family, building a legacy. That the next, so you're equipped with everything it takes for you to be able to take it to the next level,
But
right?
okay.
So we may start with sugar cane now, but the next level, the next generation is able to use technology and say, do you know what? Out of this sugar cane, we can also make electricity.
Biogas.
All right, have biogas and whatever it is. So what happens is that the vision, because vision is a slice of the future. It's like when you have a loaf of bread that's sliced and you just pick out in the middle a slice of bread. So that's what, then we pick near the end, you see another slice of bread. So vision is a slice of the future that you see. Every generation, everybody sees better, because the closer you get to this one, it looks small, so you want to create one that's bigger. Now, what I am saying is that when you wrap within the person or the children or the family a certain basic purpose, right? For example, look at most royal families, whether they're in Africa or abroad. They're very good at succession planning.
It's the system. They don't plan.
No,
They're in a system.
now that's the point.
Yeah.
The point is that our succession needs to have a system, just like a business is a system. Succession has to be a system. Why? There is a certain purpose wired within every family, right? It's within every DNA. You find that if you study particular families which have kept track record for a long time, you find that a family that say had musicians keeps on having musicians for many generations on, because there's a certain thing that's wired within their purpose for existence, for example. My point is, you could call it talent, but it's also probably a system. I come from a musical family. My wife comes from a musical family. Her dad used to play and was surprised about maybe 3 years before he passed on. We had visited him and we had carried a guitar. So he says, oh, let me try that out. And he played classical guitar you know, we're all like, my God, this guy is so good. And he says, oh no, I used to be, because we knew he was in the choir at All Saints, but we didn't think he could play guitar that well. It was wired within him. His daughter is a musician. Our child is a musician. So what happens is that you're going to pass on the thing that you are good at, and you could call it talent, but it's wired within purpose. So my thing is this: vision may change. Purpose generally is, you know, may not necessarily veer off too much. And even if it does, it's not a problem. If you've equipped them with the ability to take it to the next level.
Now, we do have to go into a break,
what you
but
want
food
to do.
for thought, and I think across the board, is how do we build that system, okay, such that, A, there's no sense of entitlement, because that is a fact. That is what is happening. Especially now. It's happening more than ever. And we all know somebody who's doing that, who's sitting and waiting for their parents to die.
The old man to die.
Yes, so they can take over. And we also all know that person is going to mess everything up.
Absolutely.
Everybody else can see it apart from them.
Yeah.
We are here at the Naguru Skies Hotel talking about succession planning. Is it up to you as a man to plan your success, or should you make it part of the system? And you know you can't create a system on your own. We'll be right back after the break.
Peter, that's wrong.
Welcome back from the break. In case you just joined us, we're in the last section where we are talking about succession planning. Now, this is your show. We want to hear from you. Engage us in live chat on our Twitter handles are on your screen. So is our Facebook page, which is NTV MEN. NTV MEN. Like it and let's engage in the discussion. Now, succession planning. How do we create a system, Nuruddin?
It begins with the individual. You need to consciously come up with, whether you call it systems, whether you call them values, but you need to consciously make an attempt at it.
Yeah.
If it's at a family level, you need to engage the people that you want in the succession. You want their involvement. I think most of the time the mistakes families make, especially Africans, is that you have a kid, you don't get engaged with the kid in your activities at an early age. You wait for the kid to leave.
Most of the things we do are shady.
Not all of us.
You allow the kid to finish university, and you say, okay, now come and join me in the family business. He would have already charted his own path. So it becomes sacrilegious for you to expect that he will abandon everything else and come and join you. And more often than not, by that time, you are struggling. So it is important that if we're to build systems, it has to start with us. You say, you know what, if I'm a blacksmith, I need to teach my kids the tools, everything about the trade. So that by the time my kid goes to school, by the time my kid goes to university, by the time my kid comes out of university, he or she is psychologically wired that this is a family business. And by that time, you will even know, you as the father, you will know whether this kid will come back to this trade or not. So you will make that decision. When we were growing up, it was very difficult to tell your colleagues that, hey, my father is a farmer. You understand? Because then it was just a degrading trade.
Yeah.
But you understand? But these days, we go tell our kids that, hey, we're going to the farm. We will actually take them to the farm. They see you go to the office, but you also go to the farm. You understand? That is a mindset change. The kid now grows thinking that, oh, farmers is not just for poor people. Farmers, you can actually be a successful office person and be a farmer. You understand? So by the time you engage the kid and say, okay, now, we're supposed to be doing pineapples. Do you understand? I have done the raw pineapples. I think it's your time to start adding value to the pineapples. Instead of selling the pineapples as we harvest, please process the pineapples. That is something that
So that's where
Chris talks
Banji
about.
Banji
Exactly.
now comes
You understand?
in,
There is now a shift. There is now a shift. You have moved from your generation. You have done your part. Someone else needs to take it forward. But it starts from a deliberate
So does it
effort.
mean you have to literally sell
You
your
have
idea?
to. You have to. You can't run away from it.
Yeah, you see, the whole idea is for you to build a system. You've often seen that daughters and sons of teachers end up being teachers, because from birth the teacher is at home marking kids' homework, is preparing lesson plans, is theoretically going to school, and the kid is seeing, and the dad is proud of being a teacher. Sometimes he asks the son or the daughter to help them. Where do I put the books? Where is the pen? You know. So
I believe
what he has
my
said
teacher's
here.
kid used to mark my book. That's why I
No,
used
no,
to
the
get
kid can't mark. So that's why when the two of you are talking of having your own dreams, it means you are coming into the family system when you are way too old. If you start in your father's system when you are 1 month, you know, literally you are 1 month, but you are going with your mom to see what your family does. By the time you are 4, by the time you are 6, by the time you are 7, by the time you are 20, your vision is already within the system. So to create a system that is working, you have to sell it. And then you have to evolve your children, your family.
But
You see,
let
that system,
me first counter this. You see, you're talking about, maybe it's not the ideal society, but you're talking about a society whereby it's like you're talking as if it's just trade, barter trade. You're just selling things. This society right now, you have a man, he has a hotel like Sky's Hotel, but he's pushing his kids, go. You want to do law? He's pushing everything's about, you see, because right now the children of these days, the millennials, the gentlemen of these days, are pursuing dreams that are possibly are something I think are dreams that person once had and would not all, but would have loved to have. But maybe he has a Sky's Hotel, maybe he's not educated, but giving this boy education, it is, do you know that they're actually pushing? They actually push. You're not actually selling your idea. The Indians, why it's possible is because they know from get-go, if I'm making chalk, the child will make with me, everyone will make with me. But right now, the Africans today, we want, you see, we're looking, there's a lot of social media, there's a lot of publicity of...
So if I may just add on to what he's saying, I get the direction that he's going. You see, the Indian system is not even about the family. There is a system where people do it. Like there's certain people, like for example, the Hindus are traders. That is what they do. The Sikhs are more mechanical. They're into that. That is what they do. Now, in our day and age, there are certain people who fall, if I may use, because I call it Uganda speak, who fall into things. Okay, you are saying that we need to start bringing our kids up. I mean, today I'm a teacher, all right? All of a sudden, I get into political favor, I become an MP, all right?
And I fall into things.
Yes, now, so I don't also have a clear path. So how am I supposed to bring my children into this?
If I'm a journalist and I'm looking at Andrew Mwenda, what time do I have to go to the farm? What time do I have to listen to my dad? You see,
until you discover that Andrew Mwenda has a farm.
Yeah, until you discover. Yeah. But you see,
and a very big one at that.
But you see, he'll say that in so many words. You may not actually get what he's saying. So what am I trying to say is that this taxation, to create a system, I wouldn't want us. You see, there's one person says that the people in the policy government making policy, they say we shouldn't be able to copy and learn and copy from other and pick from other societies. I think as Africans, we should accept. If we are not able to go back to how things were done before, our forefathers, the way it was so deliberate. You knew the firstborn son was the heir, and he would tell you, he would tell you, once you're 16, get out of my house. Not right now, 21, hey, stay. 30,
40.
no, where are you going? 40, Are you married yet? Where are you going? Wait, what's the rush? You have all these things. What's the rush? You're still in the business, but they're actually not.
Wait, let me just say, speak into this. Please allow me. I want to acknowledge that there are a number of scenarios we know, like the one you've painted, where things are not going well, right? Where there are entitled children, or some of them are adults, but they're still entitled. There's families where people, even when they inherit stuff, are fighting for it decades on. So we know that. It's not even just millennials. This concept is not new. In fact, Solomon said there's nothing new under the sun. Okay, so some of this stuff has been there for time immemorial. And matter of fact, whether you are talking baby boomers, Generation X, whatever it is, millennials, every generation has got something that defines it, but the behaviors tend to be the same. There will be entitled people in there, and there will be a hardworking crop of people in the same generation. The point is, and I think the question that Peter put forward is, how do we build proper systems for succession? I think that's the question we're trying to answer.
Yes.
Because we want to come to a point where we say, okay, so where do I start from now? I'll give two examples, to just maybe help direct some thought here. The first one is the military. The world over, in the military, because there's three basic things, and I'm not a soldier. I just see a pattern. They recruit, they train, and deploy. And keep on training and deploying, and you find that in the military, the people who have gone, through, I don't know, platoon command and, officers command, whatever. So you keep on being trained and deployed, and you prove yourself at a certain level. Then you're trained for another thing and deployed, and you prove yourself. So you find that succession in the military, in most countries, even in chaotic Africa,
there's a system.
In the military, it's not chaotic.
It's not chaotic. It's very organized.
It's very organized. Because there is a system, and the system is simple. You come in, and they tell you, hey, boss, you are now in the military. This is how we do things. In other words, so we ask ourselves in our family, can we say, this is how we do things? That's number one. Let's draw parallels, right? Yes. Number two, train.
Because of time, I'm going to have to ask you to make this your parting shot.
Okay, I'm good with it. Number two, train.
Yeah.
So how are we training our young people for this thing that we do? Right? And you start right away. So you train. Number three, deploy. Give them opportunity. Give them challenges. I was listening to a Donald Trump book recently. It's called Think Big and Kick Ass. The last part is really tricky, but it's Donald Trump. But in there, he was talking about the fact that he sees many wealthy people, even in America, who do not give their kids challenges. And so they don't respect their parents' work and don't respect their parents. But him, he never did that. He threw challenges at his kids. So when they stand and are competing against other wealthy people's kids, they are actually of substance. So this thing comes through so many ways. If you look at the book, say, Good to Great by Jim Collins, that the people who make it to the top are usually humble. They've worked through the system. They've been trained, and they keep on proving themselves. So if you like, I would just say, copy the military. Recruit, train, deploy, and then keep on training and deploying. Throwing challenges, someone proves themselves, and then so the child or the people who actually prove themselves in the family business over time are the ones you say, that one will be this, that one will be that, because they are plugged in and they're learning and they've taken on challenges.
Great stuff. Nuruddin, your parting shot.
I'd like to take actually carry on from Chris. Much as it's important to train. I think we in Africa, we need to do something that everyone else does. Let people be. Much as you want your people, you want your kids, you want your children to succeed you need to give them the freedom to express themselves. You need to give them the freedom to discover themselves. You may be a successful businessman. Your child may be a successful accountant. It doesn't mean that the child is a failure. So when that opportunity comes, you need to be able to find out, where does my child's strength lie? And how can I make sure that I further that strength? Because at the end of the day, you're interested in moving your interest, as far as the family business is concerned, from where you currently are operating to a level that will outlive you. Because at the end of the day, most African businesses fail because we have not been able to go past that stage. And until we're able to nurture our kids, until we're able to nurture our children into being themselves, taking interest in the family business, but being themselves, expressing themselves in a different way, that is when we can actually be able to say that, yeah, there's success. But at the end of the day, we need to make conscious decisions. We need to make proper planning for that to happen.
Great stuff. Banji, your parting shot.
The men have exhausted the idea. I think I'm just going to become a parrot and repeat it, maybe just using different words. That one of the quickest ways you can plan for succession is engage and engage and engage your children. Engage and engage. Even when we are taking a simple Ugandan family which doesn't have a business, maybe it's a rural household, you also, within your children, you've seen those ones, you know, that can take the family forward. Okay, even on that rural land, they can still take the family forward.
They won't sell it.
So if you die quietly without saying that, without engaging them more, probably they might be overthrown because they are not the firstborn, in my case. So engage and engage, because we seem all of us to have agreed here that there is power in learning and training. There is serious power in learning. There is serious power in training. The more your children, the more they engage in what you are doing, the likelihood that they will actually appreciate it, understand it, and they may bring their own dreams, but further what you are doing. Okay, they may take a different direction. We have seen children, when their parents pass on, especially in European countries, they say, Dad was in real estate, but in real estate the money is stuck there. I am removing it, I am putting it into stock. And the business continues growing. Okay, as he said, it doesn't have to be sugarcane, sugarcane, sugarcane. You can move on.
Can diversify.
Yeah. Briefly, as they have all talked, they've talked on the first party. So I'm going to talk to the second party, the party that is going to succeed.
Yes.
Truth be told, they are going to die. So as we have been told, they are going to die. So, but what are we left with after they are gone? We must learn to follow before we can lead. As one person said, with great power comes greater responsibility. So if we do not learn to follow doesn't mean go straight through their dream. No. Follow means through their leadership, through their training, through their challenges, through whatever they give you, learn to follow. You're a millennial out there, Generation X, Baby Z or Baby Z, whatever. Whoever is out there, I'm sure there is going to come a time, either in the job or in the family, country, where you will need to succeed someone. You will need to be an heir. You need to be the next boss somewhere. But you have to learn to follow now. The problem comes, the biggest problem comes that we do not want to follow, and yet we want to lead. So, but if we learn to follow, in whatever way, in school, politics, hey, I may be the next heir of 7. So, but if you learn to follow, sure.
Ladies and gentlemen, we've been talking about succession planning. One of the things I have agreed with across the board is systems. Systems are easy to build on. So if you don't have a system, that is the beginning of the end for you. You've heard it from the men. We have been talking about succession planning. Have a good night. And as I always say, God bless.